Researchers in artificial general intelligence, which well, I'll let Dr. Ben explain what artificial general intelligence is.
Hey, Greg, thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be here. I've been listening into the last few talks.
Awesome, thank you. Could you give us, just to get this conversation off and running, could you give us a kind of an overview of what artificial general intelligence is for folks that might not know?
Yeah, absolutely. So what is meant by A.G.I, or artificial general intelligence, is AI that can, learn, generalize, extrapolate, and imagine far beyond its experience or its teaching or its programming. I mean, just as we can deal with weird situations and new technologies that we didn't learn about in school and that were certainly not evolved directly into our DNA. And the term is intended as a contrast to the narrow AI that currently dominates the commercial AI world, which is highly valuable in carrying out specific tasks, but it's still of a nature that each AI carries out, one particular type of task. And if you want to make an AI do a different type of task, you have to go in and retrain or reprogram the AI, whereas an AGI is able to act as more of an autonomous agent and deal with new things in a adaptive and proactive way, like people. And I mean, we can see in the world right now with all this COVID-related disruption. I mean, people are needing to think on their feet a lot. Our social and governmental systems are needing to think on their feet a lot and not always doing a good job of it, right? I mean, we're seeing need, and in some cases a lack of, general intelligence being displayed by our human systems. And you can clearly see how having AGI engage in the human world might have been very helpful in this situation, but it's still still a research topic, although fortunately one that we're making rapid progress on in recent times.
Awesome. So narrow AIs is the artificial intelligence that makes our shopping websites better, that drives our self-driving cars, etc. But AGI is more like a human brain, and that can solve vast, complex problems and so forth. So AGI does not exist yet, right? Sorry.
I think that there's your summary is basically correct, but there's a couple brief clarifications I'd want to add.
Great.
So one is, it's not either or. I mean, they're just like intelligence isn't either or, generality of intelligence isn't either or, and we can get more and more generally intelligent systems. And I think we have more generally intelligent systems now in the AI field than we did 5 years ago, right? So for example, AlphaZero has more general intelligence than AlphaGo, because it can learn to play all sorts of different games, not just Go. And I mean, Google search engine, once they upgraded to use transformer neural networks this year, that became a bit more generally intelligent than their previous keyword search engine. So it is a continuum, and humans are not at the maximal point along that continuum. Like we are not the most generally intelligent possible system. Rather, we're around the minimal generally intelligent system capable to understand what general intelligence is, right? Like we're the first creature on Earth that's smart enough to really understand how stupid we are and understand the potential of becoming much more intelligent. So I mean, AGI in general, it's not just about emulating human intelligence, right? Human intelligence is just a particular waypoint on the path from current narrow AI toward massively more general intelligence. But you're right. Like right now, the most generally intelligent AI systems we have on the planet are not nearly as generally intelligent as even an average human, let alone Einstein or something.
Okay. So artificial general intelligence is essentially a continuum, and at some point on that continuum, it reaches the level of humanity, or a single human being, and hopefully passes. Is that essentially
Yeah,
where we're going with this?
sure.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so do you have a sense of, so at that point, so at some point, I guess they call it singularity or whatever, but at that point that artificial general intelligence meets the level of a human, do you have a sense of how that might happen? Like, is it going to happen on the computers of Facebook? Is it going to happen in a public forum? Is it going to happen in a government entity? It seems like that's an awfully powerful tool that could potentially be.
Yeah, and the answer may be that it happens in a bunch of different places at around the same time, and then these different early stage AGIs connect to each other and form a sort of global AGI network, so that it's then happening, all around the world, being a sort of emergent AGI global brain, which then crafts the next AGI level that humans can't even fully comprehend. So I think if you look at what's happening in the AI field now, the discovery of new algorithms and approaches is happening largely in the open source, with papers uploaded in Archive and code on GitHub and so on. So it's not like Facebook and Google have different algorithms or fundamentally different AI ideas than Baidu or Alibaba, or say a random university AI researcher in Iran or Ethiopia or anywhere, right? So I mean, the understanding of how to build AI is sort of growing up all around the globe in a quite cross-connected way. The deployment of AI algorithms to yield practical systems takes not just the algorithms, but a lot of data and a lot of hardware. So that takes money, right? So what we're seeing now, the knowledge of how to create AI is open and global, but the actual practical AI systems deployed are being deployed and owned and exploited by those who have the most financial resources, right? And that's where we are at this moment. But
Okay.
on the other hand, we've seen other cases. So the internet and the Linux operating system are cases where something that's huge and amazing and that's controlling in some ways large parts of the world managed to emerge in a globally distributed and open way rather than controlled by large entities, in spite of competition by large entities, right? Like mobile companies would probably like to take over the internet. Microsoft and Apple for a long time wanted to get rid of Linux, but they didn't, right? So we've seen cases where sort of an open and decentralized global brainish approach has prevailed over entities with tremendous amounts of resources. And I think it's still open whether that's what's going to happen with AI or not. I hope it is. And I mean, obviously I'm working toward that.
Yeah, can you, so I understand that your hope is to increase the likelihood that when an AGI gets close to the level of human or passes, that it's inherently benevolent toward the needs of humanity and so forth. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, I think to anyone who takes the prospect of creating general intelligence at the human level or beyond really seriously, I mean, the question, what is the value system, what is the goal system of this AI, becomes incredibly important, right? Because I mean, on the one hand, yeah, I want to create, intelligence with infinite capacity if I can. It's very cool, and in a sense that has importance beyond any of our individual lives. On the other hand, like I have 4 kids and 1 granddaughter. I'm married. I enjoy being alive myself. Like I don't want to see the creation of like arbitrarily intelligent superhuman minds annihilate myself and all my family and friends, right? I mean we want to create something amazing going far beyond humanity, but we want to do that in a way that will also be beneficial to humanity along the way. And I mean that's not especially how the evolution of humans happened. I can't say the emergence of humans was necessarily beneficial toward the proto-humans and great apes and whatever, right? And
Hmm.
we can't say that the emergence of industrial civilization was necessarily great for the subsistence farmers of the world either. On the other hand, we're engineering AGI, and to some measure, we're engineering the singularity, right? I mean, so this is all happening now on a faster time scale and with more deliberative thinking than these prior transitions in human history. So the hope would be, and this gets back to Gabe's talk right before this conversation we're having. I mean, the hope would be that humanity can find the presence of mind and the reflectiveness and the compassionate consciousness to go along with the amazing technologies we're developing so that we can build AGI and the whole network of supporting and associated technologies in a way that benefits humans, the physical environment on the planet, other animals on the planet, and the digital and quantum life forms that we're creating. Like there doesn't have to be a conflict between creating amazing AGI minds and benefiting human society. I mean, nor between some people moving on to totally different ways of living and existing as AGI develops versus some remaining in a more traditional human form. I mean, the conflicts there are really created by humans' limited ways of thinking. And yeah, it's one thing that pops into the mind of all of us thinking about AGI and the radical changes in the future is, if the human world is disrupted this much by this virus, which is bad, but yet not nearly as bad as you could imagine a pandemic to be. I mean, how is human society going to cope with the really big crises and changes that are bound to come? They're bound to come as we move toward the singularity. Most of which will be very good, I feel. Some of which may be dangerous and shocking for periods of time. So yeah, we're seeing a little glimpse of both the competence and the incompetence with which our current societies deal with a sort of modest grade disruption.
Yeah. So super interesting. One of my so I understand that with at SingularityNet, what you're trying to do is use blockchains on a kind of a practical level. Can you talk a little bit about that opportunity? Why blockchains are
absolutely. So I mean, there's many architectures one can use to develop and deploy AI. So you can have an AI just running on one guy's computer, one company's, or one government's computer system. Or you could have an AI that exists as more of a distributed network where you have different components of it running on different machines or controlled by different people. And there's intelligence in each of the parts, but there's a greater intelligence in the whole coming out of the coordination and the sum of the parts, right? And if you have the latter architecture, which AI pioneer Marvin Minsky referred to as the society of minds, in this latter sort of architecture, then you have the question of who controls the overall network. And the answer I would like to see realized is, well, that's democratically controlled by all the participants in the network. But then how do you do that on the operational level? Like you have a bunch of programs running on different machines all over, and they're all doing some AI and helping some people with their AI problems. They're exchanging data, they're outsourcing work to one another. Well, how do you actually coordinate a collection of AI processes running on different machines in different places without a central controller? And blockchain enables that. Blockchain technology lets you have a decentralized computing process without any central dictator or controller coordinating the whole thing. And this was Vitalik Buterin's vision of the Ethereum world computer. Ethereum is one way to realize it, which we're using in the underpinnings of SingularityNet. But by now there's a load of other interesting blockchain technologies that can be used in this way also.
Cool. And can you talk a little bit about, I understand that you have a hackathon coming up to try to develop solutions for coronavirus? Yeah.
It's ongoing now, actually. So yeah, through SingularityNET, we have come in touch with a large developer community of people developing software at the intersection of AI and blockchain. And this has to do with using the SingularityNET platform for decentralized AI, but also beyond SingularityNET as a particular tool. So I co-founded with Sophia and Simone Giacomelli. I co-founded last year, actually 2 years ago now, co-founded in early 2018, an organization called DIA, Decentralized AI Alliance, which brings together 50 plus different organizations building stuff at the intersection of AI and blockchain. So given that this developer community is there, so many people were contacting me and others in the space saying, well, how can I use what I know to somehow help with this crisis that's disrupting the world so much? And so we ended up organizing a 2-month online hackathon called the Covid-Athon, which you can find out by searching Covid-Athon online. Look at DevPost, and Covid-Athon is on DevPost, which is an online hackathon platform. And this started April 1st, but it's running for 2 months. We wanted to give a reasonably long period of time because this is challenging stuff, right? And we're basically, we're throwing some of our own SingularityNET code and projects in there to try, and having some of our staff donate time to help with COVID-related projects. But more importantly, we're leveraging just the overall decentralized AI development community. Ocean Protocol, which is another decentralized AI project focused on the data economy and decentralized handling of big data, is also putting a lot of effort and code and developer time in here. I mean, this is one of the frustrating things to those of us involved with the whole blockchain decentralized ecosystem is, now with this crisis happening, you would really like critical things to be done in a decentralized way. Say tracking and tracing people with COVID as one among many examples, or connecting sick people with physicians. I mean, it will be far more efficient and effective and beneficial, and also less dangerous in terms of handing over control to centralized entities if all these necessary services now were provided by decentralized networks. And the bottom line is, the centralized tech ecosystem is moving faster now. So I mean, Google and Apple in the US are rolling out a tracing system to help track and trace movement of people with COVID. Now, there's a bunch of software projects aimed at providing this in a decentralized blockchain-based way with no big company, no centralized authority involved. I mean, there's SafePath from MIT, there's WeTrace out of Switzerland, there's a bunch of others brewing from Ocean Protocol and then the Covid-Athon. But the bottom line is now Apple and Google have much more mature software, and they have the user base, right? And so that they're rolling this out, and that's okay. Now that's what it is. I mean, we need whatever works best. If that's a mix of centralized and decentralized, so be it. But we'd like to see to what extent can we help with the current situation using decentralized tools to minimize the degree to which this pandemic becomes a mechanism for centralized authorities to gather more and more information and take more and more control, but also looking forward toward a technological singularity and the probability of a lot more disruptions, both positive and negative and mixed, occurring along the path to the singularity. What can we do to build the infrastructure so that with the next global crisis, there's a decentralized infrastructure that's ready and really slick and easy for people to use and will deliver what's needed. Otherwise, what you're going to see is each global crisis, each disruption that we pass through on the path to the technological singularity is going to involve handing over a little more data centralization and a little more control to a combination of big tech and big government. Because in a crisis, of course, if your life is at risk, sure, take my data. Sure, government, take control. Just save my life, right? And
Yeah.
so that we want to save everyone's life that can be saved now and in the future. But we also want to ensure that as future crises unfold, these can be used to drive toward positive consciousness, as Gabe was saying, and they could be used to drive towards, broader and broader usage of robust, decentralized infrastructure. So yeah, with Covid-a-thon, we're trying to build stuff that's useful right now, and we're trying to build the infrastructure so that in future crises, there's a whole decentralized tool set and ecosystem at the ready.
So just one last question, and I'll let you get on the way with your walk there. If there's one more, say if there's another viral release in say 5 years, and this virus is worse, as we heard from David Quammen at the beginning, who talks about all the things that we do that leads to the release of viruses and so forth. But let's say we're 5 years down the road. Do you think we'll be in a much better position to leverage AI to kind of like inform the conversation? It seems like the governments
we absolutely will be in a much better position to leverage AI 5 years from now for pandemics or other global crises. And this is, if for no other reason, because AI is developing incredibly quickly on its own. I mean, application of AI to medicine, to genomics, to social science. To distributed data analytics. I mean, AI is going really, really fast these days. So I mean, now the governments of the world have released, openly all these COVID research papers. But right now, our AI can help us search through these papers, but the AI can't deeply understand the papers. It can do some data mining. In 5 years, we're going to have AI that can understand tremendously more of what's in these research papers and maybe writing its own papers that people struggle to understand. So the question isn't whether in 5 years AI will be much better positioned to help. It will be. The question that's more worrisome is who will control that AI, and will the powerful AI that can help us solve future crises, will it just serve to centralize power more and more in the hands of a few large companies and government agencies? And then what does that mean in terms of the ethics and motivational system and long-term impact of these AIs?
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, I hope that your work supersedes all the work that's happening, behind closed doors and so forth. I think this open way of developing sounds intuitively like the way for humanity to move forward. So thank you so much for jumping on the call today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Obviously, there's so many. These are such deep topics, and there's so many directions they can go in. But yeah, we can see, from the other talks that I was listening to and from our own conversation, I mean, certainly this crisis is a major point of disruption, and it's very bad. I mean, I know people who've died from COVID and others who are sick. It's a terrible thing, but it is also, it's a point of opportunity to, to grab the moment and start processes that will lead to positive changes during the next period after this. And yeah, I mean, that's what I've enjoyed about this event, is we have a bunch of different perspectives on how to do that, how to grab the moment and use this to affect positive changes, whether it's improvements in social and political systems, or giving people a chance to upgrade their consciousness, or giving the decentralized AI community a chance to pull together and create stronger and stronger tools for dealing with crises. So yeah, it's been inspiring series of talks to listen to. So thanks for pulling this event
Awesome.
together.
Awesome, thank you. So I'll be staying tuned to SingularityNET and all the work that you do, and I'm sure I'll be reaching out to you again in the near future to discuss some more opportunities. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.